guys, I didn't see you there. Come in. Welcome to the Animation Podcast, a weekly podcast about all things animation brought to you by FilmBook. My name is Matt Brunet, but some of you may know me as AniMat from my YouTube channel, Electric Dragon 505, home of web series that are all about animation, including Animation Look Back and Animat's Reviews. Now, if this is your first time here in the Animation Podcast, make yourself comfortable, and you gotta hear these things because I actually got a collection of really big news, because a lot of these, they're almost worthy enough to actually be among the top story, but no. This is just gonna be one podcast that's gonna be encompassing the entire major news that's been happening in animation. Like, first and foremost, in this episode, I'm going to be looking into the Super Mario Brothers and how Illumination Entertainment could actually be making an animated feature on them. Then afterwards, we will be looking into the first ever teaser trailer of Hotel Transylvania 3. Then we will be talking about Louie Ck and how his entire career just went completely kaput. Then afterwards, we will be talking about the Oscar contenders, like the animated films that are going to be fighting for who shall be nominated for Best Animated Feature. And then finally, we will end things off with AniMat's Pick of the Week. Now, if you want to check out more episodes of the Animation Podcast, then all you have to do is head on down to FilmBook, which is film-book.com, by searching the Animation Podcast. You can also email us at podcast@filmbook.com with the Animation Podcast in the subject line. And for our first story that we got right over here, let us talk about Mario. And in the video game world right now, I mean, everybody knows Mario, of course. In fact, everybody in the world has at least played one Super Mario video game. And especially when it comes to this year, Mario has been doing amazingly. And it's mainly thanks to the release of the Nintendo Switch, where there are many highly acclaimed Mario games that have been released, including Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There is also Mario and Rabbids, that RPG game where it's pretty crazy, but it is a lot of fun. And of course, the highly praised Super Mario Odyssey. But apparently, the craziness of Mario this year is not ending just yet. Because now Mario is actually going to be getting something that he hasn't had in a very long time, which is actually his own movie. And believe it or not, is actually going to be from the same people that brought us the Minions. Yes, it's going to be with Illumination Entertainment people. Now, if I may go and read through my source here in The Hollywood Reporter, it stated that Universal's Illumination Entertainment is nearing a deal with Nintendo to make an animated feature based on the popular Super Mario Bros. Video game, The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. So that's pretty much all that we know about this so far, is that currently Nintendo and Illumination, they are in talks to see if it could actually be possible to go and create a Super Mario Bros. Movie. And so far, the reactions to it, they can be a little bit mixed. Some can see the potential, and some are honestly a bit dreading about what's going to happen. But I just want to go and say this right now, that honestly, if it were the case that Mario would actually go and get his own animated feature from a major animation studio, it's honestly not that surprising that it is coming from Illumination Entertainment. And the reason why I say this is mainly because if you also pay attention to theme park news, then you're probably aware about the upcoming Super Nintendo Land that's going to be coming at Universal Studios in Orlando and in Tokyo. So considering that Universal pretty much made, they're gonna make an entire theme park based on the Nintendo games like Mario, Yoshi, Zelda, Metroid, and so much more. Now, they didn't fully confirm what are the specific rides that are going to be there, but you can guarantee there are going to be Mario rides in there. So with that said, it's honestly not really that surprising at that point that it would be Universal themselves that would directly go and create an animated feature based on Mario. I know technically, like, it could have also been done by DreamWorks Animation, since They're now also owned by Universal. But in this case, right over here, like when it comes to this little deal, and especially the connection Nintendo already has with Universal, the thing is, Illumination Entertainment, they're more directly connected with the Universal brand. It's kind of like with Walt Disney Animation Studios, they're directly linked with Disney more so than Pixar. Like, Pixar can debatably be its own thing. And the same thing can be said with the relationship with Illumination and DreamWorks. DreamWorks can be said to be its own thing, but Illumination is much more directly linked with Universal. So, of course, that would pretty much be happening. But also, I want to go and take the time right now to go and discuss about what people are fearing about this little deal that's going to be going on with Illumination's Super Mario Brothers, per se. Now, there are three explanations that I'm seeing why is it that people are worried about making this Super Mario Brothers movie, but I can think of some counter arguments onto why it could probably be a good thing, and maybe this movie might actually turn out to be good if you can probably give it a chance. Now, first and foremost, the reason why people are not too keen on this idea is mainly because of the story. And it is true that when it comes to the Mario games, I don't know if anybody would legitimately play them because of the story. Because the thing is, when you play the Mario games, the story just keeps on repeating itself. It's always the same thing. Princess Peach gets kidnapped by Bowser, and now Mario and optionally Luigi has to go and save her. That's pretty much it. And of course, you gotta go through pipes, you gotta stomp on Goombas and Koopas, and all that kind of stuff. The story is pretty much the same thing, but we don't play the Mario games for the story. We play it for the gameplay because it's enjoyable to actually go and play. We don't need to know, like, a lot of the backstories of the characters or, like, the reasons why, like, Mario has this new ability. We don't need expeditions. We don't need backstories. We just want a game that's fun to play. And at least on that department, Mario does deliver. Now, that doesn't necessarily translate well onto a movie. It would be a little bit like the Angry Birds movie in a sense, where you pretty much have this silly and simple concept about these birds that got their eggs stolen by pigs, and now they're pissed off, so they gotta go on this giant slingshot to go and destroy some buildings and get the pigs as well in order to go and save their eggs. That's the simple concept of the Angry Birds movie, and at least story-wise, it doesn't really translate well as a movie. And it could end up being the same thing with Mario in this case. However, I can argue that there could actually be a way to make a good Mario story and put that into an animated feature. Now, I know I just said that there mainly hasn't been a good Mario story in the games, but there do exist some actual Mario games where there is a story into it. And I'm specifically talking about the RPG games. When you think about stuff like Super Mario RPG or even the Paper Mario series, they would implement a story into it. But the one that I'm thinking specifically that can definitely work as an animated feature would actually be the Mario and Luigi games. If you guys don't know, these games, they're more comically oriented, and they do have a turn-based RPG style gameplay. And they do have a story in there, and often they can be fun to go through, like the journey is enjoyable, and also it has a great comical tone. Now, I'm not specifically asking if Illumination could make a Mario and Luigi movie, but if they can go into that tone, if they can get that humor, and if they can get that type of storytelling, then it could actually work out for the movie. Now, the Mario and Luigi franchise, that can actually translate well into a movie. So if they can go in that direction, then honestly, they could go well in terms of the writing and in terms of the storytelling. Now, the second argument of why people have major doubts on this potential movie is actually because of the studio that would go and create it, Illumination Entertainment. And even as I'm recording this, there are still a lot of people that don't have their trust on Illumination just yet. I mean, I know there is that infamous hate on the Minions and stuff like that because we pretty much live in a society where we cannot go outside for 5 minutes without turning the corner and we see an image of a Minion. But also the fact that Illumination Entertainment has yet to really make an amazing animated feature. Now, stuff like the Despicable Me films, they are pretty good, but there isn't one yet that has been totally critically praised and beloved by audiences everywhere that they would sweep in some of the awards, like where it would even give Pixar a run for its money. Illumination has yet to fully do that. And yeah, I mean, it definitely is true that they have yet to actually go and achieve that. And I know that maybe Illumination is not necessarily the first studio that people would go and ask to go and create a Mario movie. I know that some would probably prefer stuff like either Disney or Pixar, or even like some of the big ones from around the world, like maybe ask Aardman or ask Studio Ghibli or ask Cartoon Saloon to go and create a Super Mario Brothers movie. But I will say though, maybe Illumination is not the best option, but I could also argue they're not the worst option either. There are definitely other studios out there that they would have done a far worse job than Illumination ever could with this movie. I mean, here's the thing. It could be worse. It could have been handed to Blue Sky Studios where they would go and create a forgettably bland animated kids flick. Or it could be worse than that. It could be handed to Sony Pictures Animation where it could just be turned into a disastrous mess where all they're focusing on is to be so desperate to be cool and hip with the young kids. Or it could be worse than that. It could have been Rainmaker Entertainment and they could have just turned it into another Ratchet and Clank. That could be something that could have happened as well. So yeah, it's not the best option, but it's not the worst option either. And there is one thing I will say about Illumination Entertainment that could definitely work and they could use it to their full potential in terms of the abilities that they have been presenting with their films, is that, okay, sure, Illumination doesn't always craft the best stories for their animated features, and they don't often craft the best animations out there. That is true. But I will say this, no matter what movie it is, you will always come out with a favorite character. Rather it be from Despicable Me or Sing or The Secret Life of Pets, there is always one character that you will come out and you will remember so fondly. Like, you'll love this character much more than the movie itself, and you would just have a blast with that character no matter what. And considering that most of the people would want to go see a Mario animated feature to mainly see the characters on the big screen, they could actually use that to their full potential. Like, maybe they will immediately fall in love with characters like Mario, Luigi, Bowser, or maybe they will add in some of the side characters as well, like they'll add in Toadstool or even Captain Toad in there, and they'll make them such beloved characters that they will go crazy over. So yeah, this is pretty much to say that even though technically Illumination may not be the best option to make a Mario movie, but they're not the worst option either, and they can at least make something pretty entertaining. And finally, for the third reason why people would have some doubt about having this movie existing is mainly because a lot of people still have some PTSD over the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie. If you guys don't know, back in 1993, Disney actually made a Mario movie starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, and it honestly turned out to be a major disaster. Like, I'm not joking. The critics hate it, and it was a massive box office bomb. Like, honestly, the only good thing that ever came out of that movie is Dennis Hopper playing as Bowser, and there's this one scene where he would just point to somewhere and just go, "Monkey!" And that's pretty much it. That's the only good thing that has ever given us with that Mario movie. And yeah, it was pretty bad, and a lot of people are pretty much thinking, well, if that movie is a disaster, then chances are so will this movie. But like I said before, there are some things that Illumination can actually go and get right. And one thing that I can confirm about having Illumination is that at the very least, it's not gonna be as bad as the 1993 film. Like, that thing is pretty unique in terms of what happened because it was pretty much a disaster on its own. There have been several reports where the filmmakers and the directors working on this just have simply no idea what they're godforsaken doing, and everything was a total mess, down to the point where even Bob Hoskins had to be drunk for some scenes. Like, that's his only way to go through this movie is with godforsaken alcohol. And yeah, that's pretty much the one thing I can guarantee you is that, you know, having Illumination involved, they're not going to make something as bad as the 1993 film. However, I will say this though, even though there are those reassurance and maybe there could be a chance that it could turn out to be good, keep in mind though that they are only still in talks. Nothing is official just yet. They're not going to officially go and create a Mario movie, and even if a deal is officially made, we're not going to be getting it for a long time. Like, at this point, Illumination has already announced which movies are going to be released up till 2020. Like, the latest that they have gone with their movies in terms of the schedule is that there's going to be Minions 2 and Sing 2 that are both going to be coming out in 2020. So if this movie would actually be greenlit, I would expect this Mario film to be out sometime, either, like, the earliest would be in 2021, but I wouldn't be surprised either if they would also go in 2022. So that's pretty much my prediction in terms of the release date. It's either they'll have it be ready by 2021 or 2022. But yeah, that's overall my thoughts on this Super Mario Bros. Movie. So for me, I feel like I'm just gonna stay a bit cautiously optimistic. Like, I know it might not come out as the best movie, but I can trust Illumination Entertainment to make something that can be quite entertaining. We'll have to wait and see how it goes, but it's going to be pretty interesting. That's all I'm just gonna say right now, is that the fact that this thing might actually exist, it's definitely gonna be interesting. Okay, so for our next story right over here, we're gonna talk about something where people are completely split about. This is something in which people either love or they either hate. And especially when it comes to the fanboys, the way that they see this is that there is no such thing as something in between. There's no such thing as people who kinda like this or kinda hate this. For them, it's either you think it's one of the best animated films of the decade, or you think it's one of the worst things to ever happen in animation. It's either, like, you would fit in either one of these categories. And what I'm talking about, of course, is actually going to be regarding the new trailer for the next Hotel Transylvania film. Yes, just in time for the release of The Star, Sony Pictures Animation has released the new teaser trailer for Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation. And in the trailer right over here, even though it doesn't really say a lot about what this movie would be about, it's basically showing that the monsters are pretty much going to be taking a vacation on a cruise. And right afterwards, shenanigans will ensue. That's pretty much all that we know about, is that Mavis decided to surprise Dracula and bring his friends along on a cruise trip. And that's pretty much it. And before I really get into my thoughts on this trailer right over here, let me just say, am I the only one here that has a serious problem with the concept of this movie right over here? Because the thing is that this is a movie where it's pretty much trying to say that the monsters are taking a vacation. Okay, I understand that, but isn't that the entire concept of Hotel Transylvania to begin with? Like, isn't the point of the hotel itself is meant to be a place where monsters can go take on a vacation? I mean, I know that the movie itself is self-aware, and there actually is a line where Dracula would say, "Oh yes, it's definitely great. Oh yeah, it's like a hotel, but on water." Yeah, I know that it's self-aware about what it's doing, but it's not really going to do anything about it. They're just basically recycling the same idea and just put it in a different place. Like, I'm not going to lie, that's stupidly lazy. So, that's just my thoughts on the concept, though. Now, let me get into the trailer right over here. And let me actually go and start things off by getting some of the good things out of the way. I'll just go and start things off with that. And yes, I can actually find some good things to say about this trailer on Hotel Transylvania 3. And number one, I can definitely tell that Sony definitely has the technology to make some good animation. And I could see that in here there are some good things, like the textures are nice, like they actually nail the smoothness or the different tones of the textures on the different characters, and also on the cruise itself and on the water and stuff like that. The hair actually looks nice. The rendering is actually pretty good. And overall, I would say that the technology that they have is actually pretty good. And they do have the animators to go and pull that off. Oh, and also the lighting is also really nice as well. So at least in the technical aspect, the animation is good. And one thing I will admit, there is actually one part in here that actually did make me laugh a little bit. It was actually the part where you actually see Vlad coming in and he's just wearing a Speedo, and then you just see Dracula's reaction going, "Okay, thank you, Dad." Honestly, that did give me a chuckle. And at least that's the one good thing about the Hotel Transylvania teasers, is that they do highlight at least one of the few moments in the actual movie that is kind of funny. Kind of like in the second one, where they actually showed when Dracula wants to teach Dennis how to fly, so he would pitch him off like a tall cliff or something like that. And all they're doing is just waiting to see if he can actually fly. And pretty much you just see Dennis going down like the fate of Sony Pictures Animation. It was like, he's going down. He's not going to make it. Don't worry, he will. And then it just ends things off with, "You know what? He's not going to fly." So I will admit, at least like the moment with Vlad, that is actually pretty nice. And one thing I actually do appreciate about it is that it actually does show some promise that they will be using Mel Brooks' character a little bit more. Because one of the good things I can say about the second Hotel Transylvania film is actually the fact that Mel Brooks' involvement in there is actually entertaining. It was actually good. The only issue with it, though, is that the studio that made it and the writing is not intelligent enough to use it to their full potential. Like the thing is, Mel Brooks' character only appeared right at the end, and that's pretty much it. So hopefully with this, we will see a little bit more promise that we could be getting some more Vlad than usual. Okay, but that's the only good things that I could say about this teaser trailer right over here. Now, in terms of the things that are an issue, now, beforehand, let me tell you guys about an animated short called Puppy. Now, if you guys aren't aware, a little bit beforehand this year, Sony Pictures Animation actually did release an animated short called Puppy, in which it is from the Hotel Transylvania world, where Dracula decided to get his grandson Dennis a puppy. And the jokes would then, like, go from there, where Dracula has to go and take care of this giant, excited pug. And that's all the story that there is to it. And Sony would put that right before the Emoji Movie as a desperate tactic to go and get stupid kids to buy a ticket for the Emoji Movie to see that short. And honestly, that is legitimately the worst thing that Genndy Tartakovsky has ever done. You could definitely tell that there is no care, and it's completely soulless. Like, that's the thing. You could definitely tell that, like, the crew at Sony just did not care for this short whatsoever. And, like, it just felt like it was just, factory made. Like, it was just manufactured just for it to exist, and that's pretty much it. And even the jokes themselves aren't even that funny. And honestly, I'm getting that same vibes into this. I can definitely tell that Genndy Tartakovsky just doesn't care about making Hotel Transylvania 3. Like, he's only there because either he's really desperate for the money, that, or he has no choice because he is under contract. Like, he thought he could get away after Hotel Transylvania 2, but then Sony called them back and told them that, yeah, you still gotta make movies with us. You did sign a multi-movie contract, so get your ass back here and make us frickin' Hotel Transylvania 3. So, he would have no choice but to do so. And what I'm seeing right over here, the fact that there isn't much of a plot, that really is worrying, because it could pretty much be like the previous films, where all we're gonna get is just a godforsaken 90-minute cartoon with not much substance, and the jokes are just gonna be hit and miss. And it really is worrisome that this is going to happen, and it seems like it's gonna be highly likely, considering that one of the writers is also the writer of The Boss Baby. And yeah, sure, having Genndy Tartakovsky does seem nice at first to have him involved in the writing as well. But you gotta keep in mind, like, even with Season 5 of Samurai Jack, not everything about the writing is perfect. There are some stupid things that are implemented in there, like the romance between Samurai Jack and Ashi. So, you gotta keep in mind that technically, Genndy Tartakovsky is not the best when it comes to the writing. And that's the feeling I'm pretty much gonna get here. It's just, we're gonna get another cheap 90-minute cartoon with this. And I will say, though, in terms of the creative sense of the designs, I know that I have been pretty well known to be heavily critical in terms of the animation of Hotel Transylvania, where there are some people would give it massive praise and treat Genndy Tartakovsky like a god. I'm actually one of the very few people who would have the balls to actually come out and criticize him, and even claim that Genndy Tartakovsky is not even a good director when it comes to making computer animated feature films. And that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting right over here. Now, the one good thing I can say is that it does feel a little bit less cartoony than the previous films, which is really nice. But, and yeah, like, basically, the less cartoony it can be, the better it is. But the thing is that you still got those crappy designs that, oh, let's go and exaggerate the faces because that's going to make the kids laugh and they'll buy this like it was freaking cheap candy, you know? Like, that's kind of my problem with it, is that, yeah, the animation is not going to be good also in terms of the creative sense. Like, it's a little bit like the Emoji Movie in a sense, where they got the technology and the artists to execute it, to at least execute it the best that they can, but it's just conceptually, in terms of the character animation and in terms of the concept, that's where it doesn't work. So, yeah, that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting with Hotel Transylvania 3. And honestly, yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna get. Is gonna be this soulless cartoon that there isn't much care or effort that's put into it, and all they're just gonna make is this 90-minute cartoon where all they're gonna do is just make jokes related to being on a cruise. And like the plot, well, is just gonna be non-existent, and character development, well, that's non-existent because they don't want to make a movie. They just want to make a stupid cartoon, and they know for a fact that the fans are just going to easily eat this up no matter what, or no matter how terrible this could even turn out to be. This could be as bad as the Emoji Movie, and fans are still going to eat it up like it's no freaking problem. But yeah, honestly, I just don't care about it, honestly. Like, I'm not saying that this is the worst. Like one thing I will say, this is not the worst trailer that I have seen. Like, of course, the Emoji Movie, The Star, and even the teaser trailer for Peter Rabbit was much worse than this. But honestly, I just feel like this is just a soulless animated feature. It's just manufacturally made just so they could get more of that Hotel Transylvania money, and that's pretty much it. But I will say, though, there is one thing that I must say that I actually am really surprised about when it comes to this teaser trailer of Hotel Transylvania 3, and that is actually regarding the attention that it's getting, which is not that much. Like, honestly, I think this trailer right over here is getting as much attention as Sherlock Gnomes. Like, this thing isn't even going viral. Like, I'm not even 100% sure if there are some videos related to it that even surpass 100,000 views as I'm recording this. In fact, let me go and just check this out. Hold on. Hotel Transylvania 3. I just want to see, like, I don't know. Okay, yeah, like, it's just the one on Movie Clips is the only one that I'm seeing so far that did surpass 100,000 views, and that's pretty much it. The rest, like, they're pretty much getting as much views as I would make for my videos on YouTube. And I think this is really a major sign that people don't necessarily care much about Hotel Transylvania anymore. Like, they pretty much can see now that these are just cheap cartoons, and that's all there is. There isn't a lot of substance into it, and there really isn't much care or actual effort that's been put onto these films. So it doesn't seem like, just by this reaction and the fact that this trailer isn't really going much viral, it shows that not many people seem to care about it. And that's why I feel like this is why this could be the last Hotel Transylvania film we're going to see. Not because Sony wants to end off the franchise, but because, yeah, the cow of Hotel Transylvania is starting to become dry, and they might not make that much money on it. In fact, because of this, I wouldn't be surprised if Hotel Transylvania 3 might not even get as much money as the second film. Yeah, I know that they did change the release date so that it could be released in July, but even at that, the interest doesn't seem to be there. So who knows how it's going to go. But yeah, overall, I would say that when it comes to my thoughts on this trailer, it's not the worst that I've seen, but honestly, my reaction to it is a little bit similar to the teaser poster of Hotel Transylvania 3, where you just see Dracula, like, just standing there pissed off, like, ah, crap, we're gonna get another one of these. Let me guess, do we have much of a plot? No? Are we just gonna do more stupid cartoony crap? Yeah, that's what I pretty much thought. I kinda hate this place now. I mean, we are forever known to be the company that made the frickin' Emoji Movie and The Star. What's that? Oh, look, we got more shenanigans going on. Does that have a point? No? Okay, whatever. Honestly, this is exactly why I wish I was made by Illumination. Okay, so for our next story right over here, we got a little bit of an older story, but it definitely is worth talking about. And what I'm going to be discussing here is actually revolving around the ongoing controversy about sexual harassment and sexual assault in the entertainment industry. And it seems like there is no stopping to it, and it feels like now there seems to be an endless supplies of celebrities that seem to be popping out, and they're being punished for their dark past of conducting sexual harassment or even going worse as sexual assault. And we have seen a lot of crazy ones, and especially like some of the big ones include Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein. But there is one thing I will say though that is kind of surprising to me, is the fact that there isn't much in terms of the animation field, or at least ones that didn't really go public. Like, the only big one that animation has gotten was just Chris Savino of The Loud House, but ever since then, we didn't hear any other person causing sexual harassment. Like, we didn't hear people like Tom McGrath or Gendy Tartakovsky or, who else, like Richard Williams or anyone like that, that has this dark past of conducting sexual harassment. I'm not saying that they do, though. Those are just random examples. Don't worry, guys. They didn't do anything wrong. Or at least that I know of. But I guess for now, we do have one person that is actually pretty big that technically you could fit him in the realm of animation considering the stuff that he has just lost. And who I'm talking about is regarding comedian Louie Ck. Now, for those of you who don't know what happened, there was a New York Times article that was revealed that there are several women that has accused Louie Ck of sexual harassment, where he would ask women in the comedy field to come to his dressing room and he would just be completely naked, like dick out and everything. And sometimes he would even go as far as like masturbate in front of them. And without any sort of hesitation, Louie Ck stepped in and said, yeah, it did happen. In fact, let me go and take this quote from Louie Ck himself saying that these stories are true. At the time, I said to myself that what I did was okay because I never showed a woman my dick without asking first, which is also true. But what I learned later in life, too late, is that when you have power over another person, asking them to look at your dick isn't a question. It's a predicament for them. The power I have over these women is that they admired me, and I wielded that power irresponsibly. So he pretty much openly admitted that, yeah, he pretty much screwed up by doing something stupid, like randomly showing their women his dick without even asking permission or without even consent or anything like that. Now, technically, it is true that Louie Ck can still be considered a much better person than someone like Roy Moore or any of his defenders, or any of Roy Moore's defenders, I mean. But still, that was really bad of Louie Ck. He's still a freaking idiot and a terrible person to do so. And just like in a snap, just hours after he made that confession, like, he pretty much lost everything. Like, all the things that he has that he was pretty much working on, they just immediately went kaput. And in terms of the ones that are related to animation, the big one is actually the fact that one of the big ones, I must say, that apparently Illumination Entertainment decided to cut ties with Louie Ck, and he will no longer be the voice of Max in The Secret Life of Pets 2. And another big thing that did happen was that TBS immediately decided to go and suspend, and I think they even immediately canceled an animated comedy that Louie Ck wanted to do called The Cops. And sadly, what did happen was that the animators that were working on that series, they sadly lost their jobs. There were a lot of them that ended up getting laid off. And that's really unfortunate, I must say, because they did nothing wrong. Like, they ended up losing their jobs because their boss was being a freaking idiot by showing his dick around when no one asked for it. And, like, let me just start off with the thing with the cops. And ever since then, like, a lot of information has been revealed about it. And I think at this point, it does sound like it's not even going to happen in the first place. But yeah, honestly, this is probably the most anger-inducing thing about this news right over here, is the fact of how animators have been losing their jobs because of the whole Louie Ck controversy. It really does show how this can really be consequential, not just to the person, but to the people around the person as well. The people not directly associated with him, but like who pretty much work under him. Like if they have a job because of Louie Ck, well, they pretty much don't have it anymore. And it really is unfortunate because they did nothing wrong. Because they had to be dragged down with Louie Ck without any purpose whatsoever. And it really does suck. And I really do wish the best for these artists and animators. If they could go find a job somewhere else, if they can still maintain their life, even without the cops. And it really does suck. But that's pretty much all that I could really say about that aspect of the cops. And maybe it could have been a great series. Maybe it wouldn't. I mean, considering that this is an animated series coming from a comedian, they don't always turn out to be the best. If you don't believe me, look at Nick Kroll's Big Mouth. And yeah, honestly, it is too bad that animators had to lose their jobs for this, but sadly, these things happen, especially when someone causes some sexual misconduct. And in terms of the aspect about The Secret Life of Pets 2, what I do find kind of funny is that there's nobody that gave a single crap about Louie Ck anymore. Like, considering that his career and his reputation is pretty much dead in the water, the only thing people are asking about this is just, who is going to be the new voice of Max? Yeah, you could definitely tell when you really screwed up in life when the animated dog that you voice is showing a lot more concern from the public than you yourself. And honestly, in that aspect, it shouldn't be that hard of a job. Like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Because the thing is, when you really do think about it, Louie Ck's voice isn't really that distinct. Like, honestly, he has a bit of a more common voice per se. It's mostly like Louie Ck is the kind of person, like, he's just there mainly because, like, he's a big name and Illumination wanted to get him for marketing purposes. And I mean, they could easily replace his voice with someone else to do Max. I mean, he is a dog after all. And I mean, when you think of Max, one of the first things is not going to be, oh yeah, that's definitely Louie Ck. You just think about that animated dog. So what I think could happen is either one of two options. Is either one, they would go and get a good Louie Ck impersonator, or two, and I think this is going to be the one that will most likely happen, is that they're going to find another big name celebrity that kind of sounds like Louie Ck. Like, he doesn't fully sound like Louie Ck, but, like, it still kind of sounds like him, that would at least fill in the shoes to go and voice Max. That's pretty much what I'm expecting. Honestly, I'm not really that concerned about The Secret Life of Pets 2 losing Louie Ck, because after all, he's just the voice of one character. I mean, it's not really going to affect much in terms of the writing, and I mean, like, you can easily disconnect Max with Louie Ck, like how Illumination just did right over there. And one thing I will say, though, is that if there is one massive influence onto why Illumination immediately decided to kick out Louie Ck, I'm sure it is because of what Ridley Scott recently did. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sony Pictures has this movie called All the Money in the World, and they were faced with a big problem with it, where the big star of the movie is actually Kevin Spacey. And considering how his career pretty much exploded. Sony didn't want to get near that. So originally they were thinking about, oh, we're just going to delay it to June of 2018 so that it wouldn't be in the middle of the whole sexual harassment controversy. But director Ridley Scott decided to go with a crazy idea where not only he would not delay the release date and keep it until December 22nd for the release date, but also completely replace Kevin Spacey with Christopher Plummer. Really pretty much showing that these actors who did some sexual harassment in the past, they can easily be replaceable. And I think that did influence Illumination's decision to go and kick out Louie Ck. Like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Plus the fact it is just a voice, where they can just go and find someone else, give it a few days to go and record the lines, and maybe say it in the same way that Louie Ck did. You know, kind of like do a dub so that they don't have to really change much in the animation. And that's that's all that they have to do, you know? Like, it will be a bit of a quick fix for Illumination. So, we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. So, if you guys are interested to see what's going to happen with the new voice of Max, then all you have to do is just wait until June 7th, 2019. And so, for our next story right over here, we're going to be talking about the Oscars. Yes, award season is getting real close, and you're going to hear the announcements soon regarding who's going to be nominated for what, and what's going to be like the predictions and all that kind of stuff. Like, that will be happening pretty soon. But for now, we actually got one major step closer to the big one with the Oscars. And this is something that I'm really excited to do, considering that this is honestly a lot more fun than just predicting the winners, which is just predicting the nominees. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Oscars officially revealed the list of the submitted movies that are going to be in competition to see who shall get a nomination for Best Animated Feature. And in total, I believe they put in 26 animated films. A lot of them are independent. A lot of them you might not have heard of. And of course, there are a lot of them that are very well known. So what I want to do right over here, I want to go through this entire list, and together we will see which ones are going to be the ones that will not be nominated for sure, the ones that will be nominated, and the ones that maybe have a chance to get a nomination. So, with all that said and done, the animated films that are going to be competing for the nominations for Best Animated Feature at the 90th Annual Academy Awards are The Big Bad Fox and Other Tales, Bird Boy, The Forgotten Children, The Boss Baby, The Breadwinner, Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, Cars 3, Cinderella the Cat, Coco, Despicable Me 3, The Emoji Movie, Ethel and Ernest, Ferdinand, The Girl Without Hands, In This Corner of the World, The Lego Batman Movie, The Lego Ninjago Movie, Loving Vincent, Mary and the Witch's Flower, Moomins and the Winter Wonderland, My Entire High School Sinking into the Sea, Napping Princess, A Silent Voice, Smurfs the Lost Village, The Star, Sword Art Online the Movie Ordinal Scale, and Window Horses, The Poetic Persian Epiphany of Rosie Ming. So those are all the ones that have been submitted. It's not the Academy who chose this. Those are the ones that the studios felt like those are worthy enough to actually be in competition to see who could actually get the nomination for Best Animated Feature. Now, first and foremost, I want to go and point out that you may have noticed that there are some animated features that have been released in mainstream theaters that are actually not among the submitted animated films. And the ones that I've noticed include The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, Leap, and My Little Pony, the movie. And honestly, some of them are not really that surprising because, like, Leap is with the Weinstein Company, and normally they don't really care much about putting their film in this category. Neither is the Nut Job 2. Like, the first one didn't get a submission. And with My Little Pony, well, I guess Lionsgate just didn't really care all that much. But honestly, it doesn't necessarily matter considering that with these movies, they wouldn't even have a chance to actually get a nomination at the Oscars. But anyways, with all that said and done, let's actually get into the ones that will not get nominated. Let's go and get rid of those so that we can make this list a little bit easier for us. And the first thing that I'm going to do to immediately remove is pretty much the one studio that truly proved this year that they have been such a disgrace to animation, Sony Pictures Animation. None of their movies ever deserve to get an Oscar nomination this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if that for years to come, they will never get another Oscar nomination again. Like, the only one they will ever get is just Surf's Up 2. So with that said and done, no, it's just Surf's Up, not Surf's Up 2. What the fridge am I thinking? I'm sorry. So anyways, the ones that I'm going to be removing so far is just Smurfs The Lost Village, The Star, and the Emoji Movie. I don't know why the fridge Sony thought that it was a good idea to even submit that film onto the list. I mean, there's nobody in this world that is stupid enough to even think that the Emoji Movie is good. What makes you think that there are people that are so brain damaged to the point that they think that the Emoji Movie would be a legitimate contender to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Feature? It's never gonna frickin' happen, man. For God's sakes, why did you even bother godforsaken trying? Like, of course, like, everybody is going to remove the Emoji Movie. Nobody likes that film, for God's sakes. What were you thinking, Sony? Okay, so with all that said and done, we pretty much removed the Sony animation films. Let's also go ahead and remove another group of movies that is a little bit similar to Sony, where they are mainstream animated features, but they're not liked by critics. Now, I'm not saying that it never happens that a movie where like, the film would be critically panned, but would still find a way to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. Case in point, what was it? What was that movie? Oh yeah, Shark Tale. But honestly, like, it doesn't normally happen. It is honestly very rare. So with that said and done, we're pretty much going to be removing the ones that are not critically praised. So what I'm saying here is, basically, let's get rid of the movies that suck. So that's why I took off The Boss Baby, and I took off the Lego Ninjago movie. And so, with that said and done, so we got rid of some of the mainstream films, but let's go now into some of the independent animated features. Now, let's be honest here, especially with the new rule that now anybody can come in and go and submit what would be nominated for Best Animated Feature. A lot of these movies in here, like, these are things that nobody has ever heard of. So they don't really have that much of a chance to actually get nominated. I'm not saying they're bad movies, but honestly, their chances are pretty slim. So that's why I'm pretty much getting rid of Cinderella the Cat, Ethel and Ernest, and Moomins and the Winter Wonderland. So I don't think they would have a chance to actually get nominated. And finally, the ones that I will also remove is going to be the Japanese animated features. Because, let's be honest, guys, the only chance that a Japanese animated feature would actually get nominated for this category at the Oscars is if they would actually be a Studio Ghibli film. If it's not from Studio Ghibli, then the chances are not going to be there. It wouldn't really have much of a chance to be nominated. So that's why I'm pretty much going to go and remove In This Corner of the World. I'm removing The Napping Princess, A Silent Voice, and also Sword Art Online, the movie Ordinal Scale. Okay, so those are the ones that I pretty much decided to remove that will not be nominated for Best Animated Feature. So with that said and done, let's actually go and look into the ones that will be nominated. The movies that actually do have a chance to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. And first and foremost, let's go right ahead and include your standard Disney film. If it's made by either Disney or Pixar, then it will guarantee to have a spot in there. And what's interesting is that this year we actually did get 2 Pixar films. One is Cars 3 and the other is Coco. But honestly, I am immediately putting my money onto Coco because I feel like that film has a much stronger chance to actually be nominated for Best Animated Feature than Cars 3. In fact, I immediately removed Cars 3 because, let's be honest, with that film, I don't really see it get nominated for an Oscar. I mean, with the exception of Toy Story 3, Pixar sequels or Pixar follow-ups, they actually don't get nominated at the Oscars. Like, when you think about Cars 2 or Monsters University or even Finding Dory, they actually don't get nominated at all. And if Finding Dory doesn't get a nomination, then I highly doubt that Cars 3 would as well. So I removed Cars 3 and I'm putting Coco as an immediate yes to get a nomination, especially the fact that so far Coco has been getting a lot of glowing reviews. As I'm recording this, I have yet to see it, but there is a very strong chance it will get that nomination. All right, so the next thing we're going to go and talk about is actually going to be regarding your standard independent animated feature. Now, it always happens that every year there's always at least that one indie movie that would actually get nominated for Best Animated Feature. And I will say right now, if there is any other animated film that will get that chance, it is easily The Breadwinner. It has everything going for it to go and actually get that nomination. It's been getting great reviews. It's made by Cartoon Saloon, the same company that made the Oscar-nominated films like The Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea. And plus, it already has some major star power for people to actually go and recognize it, with the fact that Angelina Jolie is an executive producer in this film. So with all those aspects, I think I can definitely see a very good chance that we could have The Breadwinner be nominated. And then, right afterwards, there is a third one that I am pretty sure will get a nomination, and that is the Lego Batman movie. Now, this is another one that actually did get a lot of praise, but I think the main reason why the Lego Batman movie would actually get nominated is mainly because the Academy wants to redeem its audience from the little incident that happened where they didn't nominate the Lego movie for Best Animated Feature and the fanboys just erupted. Like, there was massive outrage over that aspect right over there. So maybe they just want to do like a little apology and actually give the Lego Batman movie a nomination, or at least that's what I'm expecting. Okay, so with all that said and done, those are pretty much the 3 movies that I know will get a nomination: The Breadwinner, Coco, and the Lego Batman movie. But the rest, we actually got a whole bunch of maybes. Now, these are going to be the ones that I wouldn't be surprised that they wouldn't get a nomination, but if they do, I would understand why. And first and foremost, I'm just going to go a little bit in alphabetical order right over here. The first one that I put in as a maybe is going to be The Big Bad Fox and Other Tales. And the reason why I put that as a maybe is because during like all the festivals and all the animation competitions that have been going on this year, like, The Breadwinner was the major winner. Like, even at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival and the Animation is Film Festival, The Breadwinner was the major winner. But in second place, like, the big runner-up was The Big Bad Fox and Other Tales. So if there would be a second independent animated feature to actually go and get a nomination right over there, honestly, I could definitely see The Big Bad Fox actually get that chance. And plus the fact that it is from the same people that did make Ernest and Celestine, which is another Oscar-nominated animated feature, it definitely does have a chance right over there. Now, the second group of animated films that I put in as a maybe is Bird Boy, The Forgotten Children, The Girl Without Hands, and my entire high school sinking into the sea. Now, the reason why I put these three together is mainly because they all have the same reason as to why they could have a chance. And that is because they are distributed by G Kids. Now, you may have noticed that when it comes to the animated films that would be distributed independent, like all the independent animated films that would get an Oscar nomination, they would be distributed by G Kids. And like just thinking of some examples like My Life as a Zucchini, Boy in the World, Chico and Rita, A Cat in Paris, and so much more, they all have one thing in common, and that is they're distributed by G Kids. So it wouldn't be surprising if they would actually get that nomination as well, just by that factor. And, okay, so with that said, the next one that I have right over here as a maybe is actually going to be with Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. I know that some people might think, oh, that doesn't really have a chance because, well, it really is a massively goofy movie. And the thing with Captain Underpants is that it's not really that popular. Like, I think it didn't really make that much money at the box office, and it definitely wasn't as popular as The Boss Baby. But the thing with Captain Underpants is that DreamWorks Animation does usually have a good track record with getting nominated at the Oscars. And with Captain Underpants, I can definitely see it get a chance. Like, at the very least, it does have a stronger chance than The Boss Baby. And plus the fact that it has been getting some pretty good reviews. That's why I honestly see it get a chance to get that nomination, maybe. Okay, so with that said, there is also another one that is a mainstream animated film, but it is controversial that I might put it as a maybe. And that is because I put in Despicable Me 3 as a maybe to get that Oscar nomination. Now, I know a lot of people might think that it's a no for that one, considering that, yeah, some people can argue that it is the weakest of the Despicable Me films. That and also, it hasn't been getting that much good reviews, so we might as well cross that off. But the reason why I put that one in is because, well, the thing is, it is Despicable Me. It is Despicable Me. And it still has a pretty good chance to really grab everyone's attention, especially the fact that it is a movie that did surpass $1 billion at the box office, and it could actually get a chance to be nominated for the same reasons why Despicable Me 2 got a nomination for Best Animated Feature. And you gotta keep in mind, yeah, sure, Despicable Me 3 isn't one of the best animated films this year, but it is one of the better ones. At least if you compare it to many of the other crap that we got this year. It's far, like, Despicable Me 3 is far superior than any Sony animation film that we got. It's better than the Nut Job 2. It's better than Lego Ninjago movie. It's better than My Little Pony the movie. It's better than any of those. So honestly, that's why I see it get nominated. It's like, why put Despicable Me 3 there? Well, what else can you put in there? It's not like they're going to put the Emoji Movie in there, you know what I mean? So that's why I feel like Despicable Me 3 might actually have a chance. Alright, so the next one that I put in as a maybe is actually Ferdinand, and the only reason why I put it in there is mainly because I have yet to actually see it. As I'm recording this, it isn't even out in theaters yet. It won't be out until like a month. So the thing is, with Ferdinand, I have to put it as a maybe because I can't immediately judge the film. There is still a chance that it could actually turn out to be really good, but personally, I kind of doubt it. Alright, so with that said, let's move on to our next one, which is going to be Loving Vincent. And the reason why I put that one as a maybe is because, yeah, there is that major innovation over the fact that this is the first ever oil-painted animated feature, where instead of using pen and paper to actually animate their scenes, they legitimately use a canvas and oil painting to actually make their frames of animation. So it is highly innovative in a visual standpoint. But the reason why I'm not immediately saying yes is because it's not that well received. Honestly, I was shocked to find that the reviews aren't really glowing about it. They're just saying that it's an okay movie. So in that sense, Loving Vincent kind of has the same chances of being nominated as either like Despicable Me 3 or Captain Underpants. So honestly, like I would get why it would get nominated, but I also see why it would not get nominated. Okay, so with that said, the next one that I would talk about is actually going to be Mary and the Witch's Flower. And yes, I know it's a little bit hypocritical to remove all other anime movies except for Mary and the Witch's Flower, but like I said before, if you want to be a Japanese animated movie to be nominated at the Oscars, then all you have to do is be associated with Studio Ghibli. And honestly, out of all the films we got over here, Mary and the Witch's Flower is the closest thing that we've ever gotten to a Studio Ghibli film. Like, it looks so much like a Studio Ghibli film in terms of its style, in terms of its storytelling, in terms of the fantasy orientation where it's going, and plus the fact this is this is directed by Hiromasa Yonebayashi, the same guy who directed The Secret World of Arrietty and When Marnie Was There at Studio Ghibli. So that's why I feel like it could have a pretty strong chance to be nominated. And finally, the one that I did put in as a maybe, you might be surprised, is actually Window Horses, The Poetic Persian Epiphany of Rosie Ming. And the reason why I put that in there is mainly because of the studio behind it, the National Film Board of Canada. Yeah, they're really not that much, and they're not that recognized for Best Animated Feature. But when it comes to Best Animated Short, they are a real powerhouse. And in fact, the National Film Board of Canada actually has a whole bunch of Oscars for Best Animated Short, down to the point that they would even give Pixar a run for their money. No joke, like, even Disney and Pixar would have a tough time to go and compete with the National Film Board of Canada. And honestly, I could see Window Horses get nominated in the same veins of why Boy and the World would actually get nominated. It shares a similar style, and it does seem like it shares a similar way of storytelling. So that's why it could actually have a chance right over there. But anyways, that's pretty much all the movies. I think we went down into every single one of them right over here. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking. You might be curious about my thoughts on my predictions. Like, what do I think will be nominated at the Oscars? Honestly, if I have to choose my 5, well, like, honestly, it's going to be pretty tough, and I don't think I'm going to be 100% correct on this. But, honestly, I would go with The Breadwinner, Coco, the Lego Batman movie, people are going to hate me for saying this, but Despicable Me 3, and Mary and the Witch's Flower. Those are my predictions. I could be wrong, but that's what I think would actually get nominated. But, well, it's going to be a long time, though, until we actually see what are going to be the animated films that will get nominated. So, if you guys are excited to see what are the official animated films that will be nominated for Best Animated Feature, then you have to wait until January 23rd, 2018 to see the nominations be announced. And then we will have to wait until March 4th, 2018 to see who will be the big winner at the 90th Annual Academy Awards. Alright, now it is time that we go and end things off with AniMat's Pick of the Week. And this week, I actually got a really fascinating animated project that's currently right now on Kickstarter, which is called Mushroom Park. Now, as much as I would love to discuss about it and give you some really good information regarding Mushroom Park, I don't know if I can really do justice myself. In fact, I'm a little bit worried if I would end up screwing up, not really telling the full-on information about what it really is. So what I decided to do, why don't I let someone else actually do the job for me? I got someone right over here who actually knows Mushroom Park more than anyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Animation Podcast, the creator and director of Mushroom Park, Tim Rauch. Tim Rauch. Ah, crap.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Very good, very good. How's everybody today?
I'm doing very well. And I'm definitely on a roll so far. So, I just want to mention, though, considering that maybe some of my listeners right now, they
Mhm.
might not know who you are specifically, so can you describe yourself a little bit?
So my name is Tim Rauch. You may know my work from being a part of Rauch Brothers Animation with my brother Mike for many years. We did a program called StoryCorps on PBS. It was 25 short films and a Thanksgiving special that won a Peabody and 4 Emmy nominations. So we had a lot of success with that, and we were doing that mostly in New York and Philadelphia. And then we moved out here to LA, and it's been a great opportunity in LA to get more involved in the animation industry out here and just kind of see things from a different perspective. So Mike is actually an executive now at Cartoon Network, and I have been working on various shows like Clarence or Pickle and Peanut, and most recently I directed the season finale of BoJack Horseman on Netflix, which was a big thrill for me because I love that show and BoJack is amazing, and so I was really happy to be a part of it. But my heart really lies in independent animation. That's what I started with in New York, and that is where I hope my career is going. I'm stepping away from all that studio work right now, and I'm making this film, Mushroom Park, that I hope everybody can get excited about because it's something very important to me.
Oh, that's really awesome. So, can you describe a little bit about what Mushroom Park is in general?
Yeah, so Mushroom Park is going to be a 15-minute animated short film about two little boys named Roger and Derek, 10-year-old kids who, as little boys or friends or, anytime you have a relationship with somebody else, there's always a love-hate aspect to that relationship. But sometimes that love-hate dynamic is stronger than others. And that's certainly the case with Roger and Derek. So they set out at night to bury a dead frog, and they get lost in a storm, and they have to overcome these challenges in their relationship to, as I say, reach a higher plane of existence to kind of get past all those struggles between the two of them and arrive at a more happy, content place.
Oh, that's nice. So, considering that you're just starting out with just a short with Mushroom Park, are you hoping that maybe it could grow into something a little bit bigger? Maybe one day it could actually be its own feature film or even just an entire TV series? Or do you just plan Mushroom Park to be just its own thing for now?
Just its own thing for now. I'm a big believer in the create small gems theory of artwork, right? So when we worked on StoryCorps, these were these 40-minute interviews that would get edited down to little 3-minute clips for NPR, and of course, NPR, they've got the muscle for that and all of that. But I just find when you render something down to the most essential elements of what's important to you about it, you can really make something special. And I think that for me, the story of Mushroom Park, the experience that I want to share with other people, that for me is a 15-minute experience. That doesn't mean that the characters or the sensibility of Mushroom Park isn't something I would like to expand in a series or as a feature, but as a film on its own, and perhaps even these characters, Mushroom Park is really meant to be this self-contained project. I'll be open if it's popular. I'd certainly be open to doing other things with it. But I really I like to set my mind to an accomplishable goal and go with it, and that's why we have 15 minutes.
All right, that sounds nice. Now, one thing that really did caught my eye regarding Mushroom Park is actually regarding the people that are involved with it. Like you got Betsy Sorato and Shandalia White doing the voices of both the characters. But also in the animation department, you actually got Bill Ray, which, if people
Mhm.
don't know, Bill Ray actually did some amazing work being the background supervisor of the Ren and Stimpy show. So, can you
Yeah.
describe a little bit more about Bill Ray's part in this project in particular?
Bill Ray is so huge, man. I love working with Bill. We worked with Bill all those years in StoryCorps and a lot of other things in between. And with Bill. But there was in the Target parking lot with my wife going into labor, and I thought I was really stressed out, and I was really at the end of my rope, and I knew completing this film was coming up. I just had my baby just arrived back in July, and for years I had been planning this film and working on it and resisting the idea of working with Bill again because he's been involved in all of our projects, and I wanted to try something new. But Bill had reached out, and Bill said, hey, I'd really like to work on that film with you. And so I just knew, Bill is, people would know him, right, like you said, from Ren and Stimpy. He's just, to me, he's an icon. He's an all-time great. What they did in Ren and Stimpy really, in my mind, set the path for what happened in the next 20 years of TV cartoons. I think it wasn't until the late 2000s in your Adventure Times and your regular shows that people started to move away and develop really some kind of new approaches that I think are wonderful as well. But the really painterly, bright, colorful, simple abstraction thing, it's not that Bill, created that whole cloth on his own, but he really led the way with Ren and Stimpy. And I think a lot of work that happened later in the 90s, like Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack, kind of really followed on the heels of what he was doing. And in fact, specifically in the case of those two shows, Scott Wills was the background painter and was Bill's protege over at Ren and Stimpy. Bill always says, Scott took what I did and did it better. So he does acknowledge, the greatness of Scott. But yeah, Bill is amazing, and he's our art director. So he's doing our background, our color, and just having that level of talent involved, and again in a small gem like this, I think we're really going to produce something special and amazing and unique. So.
Oh, absolutely, especially with Bill's work. I'm sure anybody at this point would be really familiar with him, especially with the cartoons from the 2000s and the 90s. Like, not just with Ren and Stimpy, but at least his influence is definitely there. Like, even looking in his style, like, one thing that really does remind me of is actually SpongeBob SquarePants, and how a lot of the art style does seem very similar to what Bill Ray has done in stuff like Ren and Stimpy. So hopefully, like, having him involved, it would be very nice to see like that classic cartoon style from the 90s actually come back with Mushroom Park. It would actually be really cool.
Yeah, Bill is why it has that look is painting, man, a real painting. That's what Bill does. And that's you get texture, you get a real surface. You don't just have, I think the digital tools are wonderful, and actually Bill starts with real painting and analog, as they say, painting, and then moves into the computer and uses them together. But that's what gives it that Bill Ray look. He's slinging real watercolors over there. He's the best.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just Bill Ray that really did caught my eye in terms of the people that is working there. You also got composer Chad Cannon, in which he has actually worked in some major feature films. Like, he was credited as the orchestrator for movies like the Hobbit films, the 2014 Godzilla movie, The Secret Life of Pets, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and so much more. How is it that you actually got Chad Cannon to work on the film, and what kind of music would we expect onto Mushroom Park?
Chad Cannon is going to bring mind-blowing, ear-pounding music to Mushroom Park. He's really good. He's really good. You listed those credits. He also, for an animation audience, he works frequently with Joe Hisashi. Am I saying that right? Joe Hisashi, the Studio Ghibli composer.
Oh, that guy! Oh my God! Yeah. Joe. Yeah. I think it's Joe Hisaishi, I believe. Just wanted to check.
I'm very bad with these names, but I know.
Joe Hisaishi. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I'll be honest. I don't think I can accurately state exactly. I think he does orchestration, and so when Joe Hisashi does the big concerts that they do now, it's Chad's responsibility to take that music and reformat it for the orchestra that they'll be working with in terms of, creating the same sound, creating the same music, but turning it into notes on a piece of paper that can be reproduced by an orchestra. So has been his role on all of the films you listed, Guardians of the Galaxy, La La Land, all of that. But Chad is also obviously a really top level composer. In my mind, this is the equivalent of, a storyboard artist working for a famous director and looking to have his chance to direct on his own. It's kind of that in the musical world equivalent. That's where Chad is at. He's this super accomplished orchestrator, and here's his chance to bring all of that knowledge and put it again into this 15-minute gem. And it's just my direction for him on the music was I wanted something kind of spare and limited and open, because the film is kind of that way. It's two characters in a very open space, a very abstract space. And so I wanted the music to mirror that, and that's what Chad's been able to do, and layer in all these this amazing variety of instruments and create this environment that is really rich with emotion, that it just wouldn't be there with the visuals alone, thanks to Chad. So
nice, really nice. Now, one thing I want to mention, as I've already stated before, is that right now you can find Mushroom Park on Kickstarter. So my question with that is, why is it that you need a Kickstarter and you want to go out to the public to help funding? Why do you need the Kickstarter?
Because I don't think you get a product like this any other way. I think, again, if people go to the Kickstarter page and you look at that animation, you're going to go, whoa, this is some really deluxe, high-level stuff between what we're putting into the design and the animation and the background work and, of course, the music and the performances. And it's this really high-level stuff, but it's all being done really at an economical, efficient level. I already spent 4 years kind of writing this thing, putting it together, recording the voices, all of that. We've already, taken care of all of those costs, but we just need a little more money, a little more push to get over the finish line. I think for an animated project like this on Kickstarter, at $20,000, it's a pretty reasonable budget. This is a children's film. It's sort of a children's film. It's certainly animated, but it deals with these topics of love and mortality and redemption and forgiveness that I just think you're just going to have a hard time getting Cartoon Network to do a season of. It's not for that space. It's for a very unique kind of space, but I think it's an important message for people to acknowledge the circle of life, I suppose, is part of it. We have a limited time, and we want to value our time, and we want to value our time with our loved ones. And I think that's really the message of the film. And, I think that is a message that I'm hoping the audience can get behind and back us on Kickstarter.
Yeah, definitely. So let's say, for example, I would be interested to go and make a pledge onto your Kickstarter. What would be the benefits for me to support Mushroom Park, and what would be like some of the rewards that I would get?
So we've got a lot of great rewards, and we're pretty early in the campaign. If people would like to see something else, please speak up. Let us know. We're going to be looking to adapt. But in the meantime, what we are offering is there's a mini print you can get at the $10 level. You can get a digital download of the finished film and see it before anyone else online. At the $20 level, there's tips and tricks at $35, and I think that might be a lot of interest with your audience. I'm going to put together an ebook that demonstrates a lot of different things that I've learned over the years about how to handle special effects, dialogue, acting, just as many different things as I can kind of pack in there that I think would be helpful and interesting to somebody who wants to learn character animation the way that I do it. And then on up from there, there's great prizes. There's, a book bag, and there's an art book. And in fact, the art book is available at the $65 level, which I think is a unique offer with Kickstarters like this. So I'm hoping people really love what Bill is doing and what I'm doing and want to take a look and support us.
All right. So, is there anything else that you would like to add regarding Mushroom Park itself? If there's any extra piece of information you would like to tell to the people?
It's when you asked me at the top of the whole interview, what's the film about, or describe the film. For me, it's still, I'm in the process of creation, and it's very hard to put a cap on it and explain it. But this process of running the Kickstarter has been interesting because, of course, it forces me to do that. And so for me, it's come down to this 4-word phrase, this 4-word mantra, this love, forgiveness, redemption, and mortality. Or I don't think that's the order. I think it's love, forgiveness, mortality, and redemption. And for me, those are the elements of life. You want to love the people around you. A big part of that is being able to forgive them. And when you receive forgiveness, you're redeemed. You are given a new pass, a new lease on life. And then at some point, it's all over, and that's mortality. So I don't know. It's a weird film. I think check it out. Look at the trailer. It looks like nothing else that's going on right now. I have to say, I really think it's unique, and I think people are going to like it.
All right, so I have one more question for you. Now, let's say that the best case scenario has happened, that you did make it to $20,000 on Kickstarter, and production will be going well for you. So, with all that said, if everything goes right, when do we expect to see Mushroom Park?
It's going to be coming at you hopefully late next summer. Animation is a long process, but we are 50% of the way done. We have a pretty good picture of what it's going to take to get it done. I will say, with the baby being born, it's a monkey wrench. It's real life. But I'm dedicated to doing this. I'm taking the rest of the year off until this film is done. And the stronger the support, the quicker we can get it done. That's for sure. And really think you'll be able to see it by next August.
All right. That sounds actually amazing. So I just want to say, Tim, thank you so much for being here. It really was a fascinating interview, and I'll definitely look into the Kickstarter of it and see which reward I would be interested in getting. And with all that said, I just want to say thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Animation Podcast. You can go and find more of my work at film-book.com. All you have to do is search for Matt Supernet or the Animation Podcast. You can also go and find me on Twitter at AniMat505. But if you guys are also interested in checking Tim out, Tim, do you have anything that we can go and follow you regarding social media and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I'd send you to, first of all, the Rauch Brothers Animation Facebook page. There's my Instagram, which is Tim_Rauch. And there is the Rauch Brothers, regular RauchBrothers.com. And of course the Kickstarter. If you go to Kickstarter.com and search Mushroom Park, you'll get it in animation. Take a look.
All right. Now, if you guys have listened to this podcast on iTunes or any other podcast service, do you mind doing us a little bit of a favor and rate and review this episode, considering this one was a little bit more special than usual? And if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube, then hit that like button and leave us a little comment on your thoughts about the news this week. Tune in next week for the latest episode of the Animation Podcast and all things animation. Thank you guys so much for listening, and until next week, see you later, dudes!